Welcome everyone back to Spoiler Warning. This is your premier wrestling news show featuring myself, Tom Colohue. Our headlines, as you might expect, are Becky Lynch based. That will be our top story today. Her plans for the future of wrestling, as well as a meeting which took place with Mercedes Money, and other sources within AEW have more information on this one. We're going to talk AEW dropping out of Wembley for a year and why that happened. Sami Zayn and Jey Uso's pushes that seem to have paused at best and stopped at worst, but there's a reason for it. We're going to talk Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns, which I know is something that's really hyping a lot of people up. We're going to talk a little bit more about Tony Khan and Shane McMahon, why that meeting took place, and how it is not related to wrestling. We're going to rumour kill a little bit. Asuka, released? No. More on that later, because that's one that started to do the rounds for no reason. We have a little bit on Dave Meltzer. Yep, I created a video on WTF Wrestling about Dave Meltzer at length, but also, let's just say, is winding up people and has been accused of biting the hand that feeds. The Wired Six have a little bit of information as to how long their story is going to be and where they are as regards syncing up with WWE storytelling and creative right now. And finally, we have information on Pat McAfee, how long he'll be out, when the WWE expect him back, and how long he'll actually be back when he is. So we have 53 people watching, 16 likes. Let's get that ball rolling, let's get those thumbs ups going, and by all means jump in, say hi, talk amongst yourselves. We will get to our first piece of news, then we will catch up with the chat. But before we do, one of the easiest ways you can support this channel is by helping to announce the show. So what we do is on Twitter, now X, we tend to basically post saying, hi, this is happening tonight, share please, and there's a link. If you're able to, please check that out. It will be posted on both the YouTube and the Twitch for you to find there. That is the most recent tweet declaring that this show was going live. It's had 1,800 views so far. The more it can get, the better. If you quote tweet, I will be sure to retweet to try and help the growth of you, as well, of course, as the growth of myself by continuing to do this. So, our top story, and I'd love opinions on this. Becky Lynch. I have news on Becky Lynch's contract status and rough guidelines for her return. What I want you to do is tell me in the chat when you think we'll see Becky Lynch again and where. When and where we'll see Becky Lynch again. Let's dive in. Becky Lynch is currently a free agent. She is not currently attached to any specific wrestling company, and that includes the WWE. Her contract expired in June, and since then she's been taking an extended break. There is no pressure from the WWE at all as regards her return, because since she's a free agent, she doesn't have to return, and she definitely doesn't have to return just for them. AEW are said to have offered a monster package to Becky Lynch, though she has received offers from almost every major promotion. The AEW offer is said to be more valuable considerably than the offer that is on the table from the WWE. The WWE made sure that Becky Lynch knew what the offer was before she went on her break. However, Lynch is said to have told those close to her that should she return to wrestling, as in should she return at all, the WWE would be the only company she plans to wrestle for. This does not mean there have not been discussions about potentially working with other companies. Mercedes Money is said to have spoken glowingly of AEW, top to bottom, to Becky Lynch, though that is not necessarily with the intent of convincing Lynch to sign with AEW. Money and Lynch are friends, and they are aware of the experiences each other have had in their respective brands and companies. In the days that follow, I expect you're going to hear a lot about Becky Lynch and Mercedes Money talking about Becky going to AEW, but I just want to rumour kill it before the rumour even starts, as I tend to do. Sources close to the WWE creative state that plans are in place for Lynch at, as many of you can see, the Royal Rumble. I believe I've mentioned this one before, suggesting that they intend to have her available by then. Right now, however, creative plans are not finalised because they are not certain 100% that Lynch will indeed return. She is a free agent right now. She is not currently signed to any wrestling company. There is an incredibly lucrative offer on the table from AEW. Mercedes Money, who is of course working with AEW and has done for a while now, has spoken glowingly about the setup there. However, at the moment, sources close to Becky Lynch have indicated that she's been telling people if she does return, it will be for the WWE. I'll reiterate that about halfway through the hour, just so that we're all exactly where we expect to be. There is plenty of additional news coming, so please do stick around. You may have enjoyed or turned up just for the headline news, but there is plenty more to talk about. So stick around. We already have 92 views, 89 people currently watching, 30 likes. Literally 3 more, and we get past that 33 in 5 minutes that I always like to do. 3 more likes, guys. Can you do that? Can you get me over that line? I'm going to catch up with the chat, make sure everyone's in a good place, and we'll go from there. Chris says, good evening, Tom. Welcome, Chris. Spider-Boss says, Liv Morgan's fans have crossed the line with their hatred against Rhea. Won't go that far. Sean says, hi, Tom. Welcome, Sean. Spider-Boss says, what's the end game of Liv and Dominic? The same end game for every wrestling storyline. Star power. Sean says, in Canada, Alexa was showing the preview for tonight's Raw. Interesting. Very interesting. Michael says, hi Tom, welcome Michael. And Sean says, I'm excited for the Becky news. Yes, please tell me, once you've heard those headlines, which piece of news is most exciting for you personally? Is it our headline news on Becky, or is it plenty of the other news that you've heard me basically advertise there? Sid says he's looking forward to AEW All In. I was there live last year. It was a great show, though my God, did it drag on. Leon says, hi Tom, hope you're doing well. Doing very well, thank you, sir. Ishii says, hello Tom, hope you're okay, doing well. Hope all of you are also. Yes, Ishii, there will be news on the Wide 6. There is some news on the Wide 6. You know me, drips and drabs of information as and when I get it. Noob says, hello Mr. Colohue, how are you doing today? Doing very well, thank you. Celebrating a bit of housework that essentially should have been the most basic housework in the world. But I did it. I'm very proud of myself for it. We did it. The family did it. Together, we did it. But I'm celebrating because I'm chuffed. Sean says he's Pat on a part-time or limited date contract. His contract essentially is for whenever he's available, so it's kind of neither. There are part-time elements, but we'll go into more detail for that later. Spider-Boss says, I put you over on X after Roman got brutally beat up by Jacob Fatu on last SmackDown. He did indeed, and you did indeed, and I appreciate you for that. We have our predictions for when Becky will return. Michael says, the Royal Rumble. Juan also says, Royal Rumble. KJ says, please Becky, come back. Bailey and Jon have the Rumble as well. I think I may have already shared some news on this one, given that everyone is saying the same. Hey KJ, how you doing, mate? Nathan also says, the Royal Rumble 2025. Roger says, I'm going to Bash in Berlin. Hope you have a great time, mate. Let us know how it goes. Spider-Bot says, I think we could see Becky back in WWE at the Royal Rumble, at the Women's Royal Rumble. Eric suggests the first Raw on Netflix. Similar time, but not exactly. Noob says, I believe the start of the Netflix era. Spider-Bot says, as much as WWE tried to move on from the Four Horsewomen, the Four Horsewomen are the only ones who care about the women's division, apart from all the rest, like, for example, Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, etc. Won't go that far. Eric says, lag. Is anyone else getting lag, or is it just Eric? If you are experiencing lag, or if you're not, please do let me know. Michael says, well, I'm not Days, mate. Not Days, wrong channel. Jason says, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Jason. Trekkipedia says, what's the chance? My birthday tomorrow. This is a nice early birthday present to watch an awesome dude. Appreciate that, Trekkipedia, but first and foremost, congratulations to you for surviving another year in what can be a very difficult world. Congratulations, salutations, and celebrations. Happy birthday, man. Eric says, by the way, good evening, Tom. How are you doing before I forget? I know you'll forget, mate, but I always appreciate a check-in. Appreciate you. Sean says, I think we'll see Becky back in WWE at the Royal Rumble. Doug says, hey, Tom. Hey, Doug, how you doing, mate? Jet A says, will Rollins wrestle Bronson at Bad Blood? I don't think it'll be that soon. There are plenty of other matches that are likely to pop up there. I do think this will be a Raw match at best. One second, guys. Zayn says Bryan Danielson did an interview with the Daily Star newspaper, said he's working without a contract in AEW. That's an interesting one. What I will say is that there are definitely times when people work without contracts. For example, Jon Moxley worked without a contract for about 6 months. Always a Wire 6 News review sheet. I get it. Eric says the Asking News as always. The Rumour Killer has posted earlier, but there'll be a little more later. One says, hey Tom, since good old Meltzer decided to lie about AEW's value, does this mean no TV deal at all for AEW, considering Dave Meltzer had the guts to lie about such thing? Now, Dave Meltzer would say that he hadn't lied, but he'd been, shall we say, confused? If you watch WTF Wrestling, you'll know how I feel about that one, but there'll be more on that later on. Zane says, your wall looks so much better. Literally, it's just the wall that's painted white. If I go like this, the rest of it isn't. But that bit looks good, doesn't it? Doesn't that bit look good? That one bit look good? Chris says, prediction, Damage Control wins the WWE Tag Team Championship tonight on Raw. It's a great opportunity for them. Sean says, do you think Roman cost Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu the tag titles on SmackDown? Possibly. Hard to say. The tag titles are one of those that's booked in such an interesting way, primarily because none of it really makes sense. Angel says, when do you think WWE will start booking the new Judgment Day strong? I don't think they will, unfortunately. I think all of the focus is on Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley right now, which is working out for them, but Balor are going to be doing some jobs. Marcel says, are you expecting a Wire 6 match at Bash in Berlin? I'm not, no. Though we are still overdue a Howdy versus Gable match. More on that later. Michael says, I remember about a month or two ago, Mercedes was asked in an interview about free agents, more specifically Becky. Mercedes veered off and indirectly referred to Natty as being someone she wanted, and the good old IWC took it as Mercedes just not wanting Becky. I really don't like the IWC. Nor do I at times, mate. Nor do I. I cannot blame you. Hey, John, good to see you, mate. Lovely. Okay, we've got a few confirmations that there's no lag. Zayn, Entertainment, Trekpedia, thank you kindly for clarifying that. Ishii, I will have some more on the Wyatt 6 a little later. One says Mercedes Money is trying to recruit Becky Lynch to AEW. That's the exact opposite of what I said. In fact, that could not be more opposite. Marcel says this Sunday I'm going to WWE Live for the first time here in the Netherlands, and I'm really looking forward to it. Glad to hear it. I know you've been waiting a long time, so it's good that they finally got there. I don't think NXT Europe will quite hit the sweet spot that they're looking for. Hector says, Tom, in your opinion, what do you think happened to turn what seemed to be a good working relationship between Bobby Lashley and the WWE sour to the point where they've parted ways? Well, Hector, I've covered this one quite extensively. It actually comes down to a very simple thing. Vince left. The WWE would be happy to see Bobby Lashley come back. Bobby Lashley would not. Marcel's hoping for a Cody match. I suspect he'll get one. Cody Rhodes tends to get those big matches. So Jan says, hello Tom, very curious to know if WWE will stream on Netflix in India. I believe it will, yes. Angel says, if Becky returns, will she continue her feud with Liv where she last left off? Hard to say. That would suggest that Liv's going to win the feud of Rhea, and I don't necessarily see that. Joey says, I can't imagine Becky leaving. I don't see why she would want to work away from Seth. They're not joined at the hip. Like, they're obviously married, they're in a relationship, but they're not the same person. No worries, Michael, can't blame you. When are you thinking? Joey says, do you have any AEW contract news? Only as regards the contract of Shane McMahon. Sean says, Julia will have a final match in Marigold on the 25th. Pardon me. She said goodbye to Japan today. King Azza says, Tom, is Roman going to try and get Jay and Sami to join him against a new bloodline? It will be cinema. More on that later. Valencia says, hi Tom, really enjoyed your video regarding Dave Meltzer. When AEW first started, it was constant shot taking at WWE, especially by Meltzer and Sean Ross Sapp. I'm glad they're starting to get exposed. I've got Sean Ross Sapp blocked, so I don't actually know what you're referring to there. Thane says, some wrestlers work in TNA work without a contract, they work with a handshake. Yes, many wrestlers do, and I think Bobby Lashley will likely be doing quite a bit of that soon as well. Hey Wiggly, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. Joey says, do you think we get Howdy versus Gable at Bad Blood? It suits the PLE theme. Certainly could be. I think it would definitely fit the aesthetic they're going for. Tony, the news I've given on Alexa has been quite extensive in total. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it'll be today. That would be counterproductive. Also, I don't necessarily see it happening. I don't like to spoil all the surprises, but I share enough news that you basically know what's going on. Wrigley says, been a busy few weeks, returned from Paris, still recovering. Will you be attending any AEW events this week? I will not. Unfortunately, having bought a new house, I cannot afford to go to any big events. I'm relying quite heavily on the kindness of yourselves right now to tick a few boxes and pay for any luxuries that I have. So thanks for watching the ads, guys. Appreciate it. Angel says, how has Triple H and WWE felt about Liv's heel run so far? They love it. They are thrilled with the work from Rhea Ripley. They are thrilled with the work from Liv Morgan. They are thrilled with the work from Dominic Mysterio. WWE could not be happier with everyone involved. I'm going to go to my second piece of news. We've just broken 200 views, 111 people watching, slightly less than, nope, that is exactly our peak. 48 likes, 2 more to 50, guys, 2 more to 50. So, next up is a bit of AEW news around Wembley. AEW are dropping out of Wembley for 2025 due to the cost factor. Now, the cost is significant. Wembley is very expensive to book and just as expensive to run, especially to travel with all the necessary equipment. It would be much easier to basically stick it all in a van than stick it all in a plane, and that is something that AEW has gone for. They have spent quite a lot of money on some very big moments, and AEW All In 2023 worked pretty well to that endeavour. That said, ratings have not been strong ever since compared. Texas, instead of charging AEW, actually provided an investment to AEW, and this is a very lucrative and valuable offer for Tony Khan. There, of course, is going to be an all-in Wembley 2 years from now, and that's something that they'll build towards, but right now, financially, it just didn't make sense. They will find ways to fill an arena in Texas. They will definitely have a hell of a lot of viewership, and while they are struggling for some of their local shows, they are not struggling at the moment for the pay-per-view format that they use. I very nearly said PLEs, which would have definitely been massively inaccurate. When it comes to AEW, will you be watching All In Texas and in Wembley this year and next? Basically, you're a new and All-In fan. You're an All-In regular. To continue the news. In fact, what I'll do first is I'll check if there's been quote tweets on my announcement tweet. So what I like to do is I will announce the show on Twitter, now known as X, of course, and I'll see how much traffic that gets. Because it's a link, it tends not to get that huge amount of traffic. But one reply on that, one retweet, makes a massive difference. So what I like to do is make sure that anybody who does share, who does retweet it, they get quote tweeted to try and share the love. If you're able to, please don't forget to jump on and hit that button that I've just posted. The link goes directly to the tweet in question, and it does greatly aid the growth of this channel. What I will say is, while it's had 2,100 views, there have been 58 clicks of the link, which means 58 people have gone from Twitter to here. That's more ad revenue, that's more views, that's more potential subscribers. So every little does help, and I appreciate you all for sharing. Sid said, last time I went to WWE Live, the Big Show was wrestling on Raw. That must have been a while back. Spiderbell says, Mercedes can say or do anything, and the IWC will complain about her. Then people wonder why Mercedes has been answering back at their haters. I expanded on this in quite a lot of detail in an earlier WTF Wrestling video. I'm very proud of what we were able to do with that WTF Wrestling video, and I do think it really helped a lot of people understand that Mercedes has been through a rough time with media in general. Marcel's hoping for a Cody match at the live event. I think you'll get it. Trekkie PD says, I love the video of Rhea hugging the young fan and letting the fan hug her back. For a while, she's one of the nicest people Rhea is, and lots of respect for her. Sayans, there are rumours of Daniel Bryan retiring. There are no confirmations of Daniel Bryan retiring, including from Daniel Bryan. Can also say, mate, hope you and the family well. Nice to see the house coming along. You deserve it. Would you expect to see the Wyatt 6 tonight? Yes, I would. And also, thank you very kindly. The house has come along very nicely. It's been a little while, Wiggly. Welcome back, mate. Hope you're enjoying it. Hope you had a great time at the Olympics. Sean says, did you see the report from Viper Reports about Charlotte's return timetable? No, I did not. What's the apparent timetable? Is it the one that Fightful Select already reported, where it was like a month from now, 2 months from now? Hector says, with Bad Blood on the horizon, what are the odds we actually get a first blood match? Because I feel like it's fitting. Very unlikely that if that does happen, Cody's definitely diving on that grenade. Joey says, when are Finn and JD going to defend the tag belts? They still haven't had a match since winning the belts. They've won them fairly recently, so I wouldn't worry too much. The moments will come, though Finn Balor's going to be played as a coward going forwards, so we'll see if it's quick or slow. Jason Courier says, if Seth stays in WWE, Becky couldn't go anywhere else. They share the same wardrobe. That is a hell of a joke, mate. And a joke I've made myself before, because it's definitely true. During some of Seth's most ridiculous outfits, I told a story of a time in which Seth and Becky were literally backstage going through their phone saying, "That is the most horrible thing I've ever seen." And Becky says, "Buy it." It's just wonderful. I watched a little bit of the Olympic Wrestling Weekly, but unfortunately I worked through most of it. Yes, they are weekly. Sid says, will you have to pay extra for WWE PLE when WWE moves to Netflix? From what I'm being told, you'll have to pay more for Netflix Live, but you'll get all WWE content with that. Ian says, great content as always, buddy. Keep up the great work. I'm still keeping my eye on that pig. Good man. Appreciate you, Ian. Michael says, so excited about All In. Wiggly says, I asked Hikaru Shida directly on her stream if she's coming to the UK this week. She won't say either way. Makes sense. I mean, you got to keep kayfabe alive somehow. Entertainment says, I missed All In last year, but I'll be watching this year and next. Spider-Boss says, I hope that after All In, Mercedes can move on from the rivalry with Britt. I'd love to see Mercedes versus Athena. Ooh, good shout. So Yang says, can Roman versus Cena happen one last time? Will Cena put over, win more matches or lose? How is the retirement tour shaping up? I put a lot of detail onto that on Friday's show, so you actually might want to check that out. It's the top story. Wiggly says, I feel like the only big things that have happened in AEW this year was Sting retiring and Tony Khan's neck brace. Even MJF returning was so meh. The initial arrivals of Mercedes Money, Kazuchika Okada, Will Ospreay were big deals. The return of Jack Perry was a big deal. I know a lot of people aren't fans now in retrospect, but that moment was a big deal. I also think there's a lot of moments that they've done very well. For example, the Shane McMahon news, which we'll get to shortly. How's it going? Well, Wiggly. White walls, kind of. Aviation. Welcome, Pete. Says, evening all. Spoke to Dave Meltzer and he gave Tom 5 stars. Appreciate you, mate. One says, that's interesting, Tom. I thought AEW is being punished by Wembley officials for airing the CM Punk footage. They're not. Nope. It just comes down to the finances. There is no particular vendetta or problem. Wembley released the footage happily. One says, I really want to watch AEW pay-per-views, but until they get a deal of some sort, there's no point in paying for it considering there's 4 months left. Jermaine's asking if I'm going to cover All In Wembley. Depends what you mean by cover. I will not be live for it, but I will talk about it afterwards. Cal said, do you think we'll see Howdy versus Gable? I think we will eventually, yes. I just don't know when. Marcel says, I'm looking forward to the Randy versus Gunter match. If there's going to be a great match, that's going to be the one. Banger after banger after banger. Sean says, Viper Report said Charlotte Flair's return timetable has her back around November and is expected to return on the SmackDown brand. She is expected to return on the SmackDown brand. As I say, she's cleared, she's ready. They're just waiting for the storylines to match up. With her expecting a big match at WrestleMania, they're not going to make any rushes. Personally, I think she'll slot in for War Games when we get to it. Valencia says, any news on the length of Karrion Kross's contract? Big fan of him and enjoying his work, but can appreciate he's not getting great reactions. Should I be worried about his future? I'm never going to say you should be worried about this, that and the other, okay? I'm never going to do that. What I will say is that I don't think his contract lasts too much longer, and I don't think there's too much interest in renewing it, unfortunately. We have 128 people watching, 58 likes, 2 more. 2 more gets us to 60. A nice round number indeed, and you know how I like those nice round numbers. If we want to boost that number of people watching, there are multiple ways to do it. One of them is chat rate, and one of them is just sharing news. So here's what I'm going to say. Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, are they bloodline bound? I'm going to report on this in just a moment, but I want your opinions. I'll read a bit more of the chat to give you time. I want your opinions. Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, are they both bloodline bound? Because Sami Zayn does still have some business with Bron Breakker, however definitive that loss was. Jey Uso has some involvement with Judgment Day. This does not feel like they're immediately going to step into bloodline, except it also does. Jay Braddock says, what are they doing with Bronson Reed? Is he the next Mark Henry? Mark Henry took more than a decade for them to give him a chance. I would hope that Bronson Reed gets a chance sooner. Andre, I will not be attending All In personally. I've not got a ticket this year. I attended last year, but unfortunately I can't afford it this year due to the fact I've just bought a house. Roger says, do you think Grado was a good wrestler? We wouldn't be talking about him if he wasn't. Trekkipedia says, meant to say, help Tom get to 65 likes, share and subscribe, please. Appreciate that. We're 2 away from 65 now, so we just had an extra 5. Can't complain. Bailey says AEW has a supply and demand problem. They don't have a ready supply of new talent and the demand for their events is lacking. I do think going a bit more global in the way that WWE is would be very worthwhile. Spider-Boss says Mike Johnson from PWInsider reports Stephanie Vacker is working on her visa work. Once her visa work is ready, Stephanie Vacker will be full-time in WWE. Does not surprise me. Does not surprise me at all. Sirian said, can Brock return? Yes. Will he? Probably not. Bailey thinks Sami and Jay are bloodline bound. King Azza agrees. Wiggly says Sami and Jay not going to F with the bloodline right now, to be honest. Hector says with the ratings dipping a tad, it's on brand that Tony Khan is teasing some huge announcement that he's going to talk about soon. I believe that huge announcement was All in Texas next year. But you're right, it's very on brand for Tony Khan to have massive announcements when ratings start to struggle. Cal says, Tom, do you think the Wyatt Six will do anything next week, as it'll be a year since we lost Bray? Personally, it would be nice to see Alexa next Monday. If they're going to do a tribute to Bray, Alexa would not be the person doing it. Trekkipedia says, I think we'll see them in the bloodline, but first they'll win the tag titles, then begin the slow burn to Survivor Series to join bloodline. Marcel says WWE is not very popular here, which is why I think it's the first time in 7 years they've come here again. Hopefully that changes for you. Jack says Jay will, but I don't think Sami will get into it, family only. Sean says the Raw Netflix banner was revealed at FanFest in NYC. Cody was front and centre. Becky and Alexa weren't shown on the banner. Right now, Alexa has not returned, and Becky, as we know, is a free agent. I've mentioned previously, in fact mentioned on Friday, that as regards to brand split, Netflix don't care. They want everyone, and they'll get everyone. Andre says, any guess who will debut in the Casino Gauntlet match at All In? I'm going to guess Bobby Lashley. Rohit says, Tommy said, Wyatt 6 teasing Alexa's return, then you predicted another video, Nikki Cross wrestling match against Alexa in WrestleMania, then Uncle Howdy kidnapping Alexa. I did. I predict a lot of things. And I think a lot of them are very exciting concepts. Nathan says, I could see a scenario where they keep this within the family and not Sami. Doug says, Tom, tonight is Pat McAfee's last Raw for a while. We will be talking on that shortly. Marcel says, please all like for Tom. Appreciate that. Once again, we've had number 5, so we're 2 more from 70. Entertainment says, yes, they are, but not soon. Survivor Series, they help Roman against the Bloodline. To be fair, that's sooner than you think. King Adam says, I think Hikuleo will join Roman's bloodline to be equal to Jacob Fatu. Hikuleo is not an equal to Jacob Fatu. I've seen his work. He ain't. Eric says, Sami Zayn and Jey Uso are bloodline bound. Daz is here, says, big up, Tom. Do you think AEW should be live on ITV4 this week? I think if they get a live TV deal, they absolutely should take advantage of that. Spider-Boss says, Jay and Sami are bloodline bound. Roger says, Odyssey Jones is a future WWE champion, my friend said to me. Your friend might be onto something, they also might not. New believes that Sami and Jay are bloodline bound. Jason says, is Odyssey Jones going to be full-time New Day? No. Mustafa, are you alright, mate? Says, here for the chat, Ray. Appreciate you. Good to see you. Marcel says, I see Jay and Sami with Roman, but what about the brand split? As I say, I don't expect the brand split to be as big a concept as it has been anymore. Spider-Man says at a fan fest in NYC, Jey Uso said we'll see the Usi back. Then it means Sami Zayn. We'll see you soon, Wiggly. One says, hey Tom, according to Dave Meltzer, as well, he's reporting AEW is worried about ticket sales and popularity. Do you believe they'll ever recover from that, or are they doomed in terms of demand? They're not doomed. They're simply not doomed. Ishii, I went into detail on, I believe, Friday about Wyatt Six and Pat McAfee. There's a working arrangement there that has not been organised by WWE. Cal says, do you think Alexa will jump straight into a spooky role? No. Trekkipedia says, close to 75 likes, folks. Please keep it up. Appreciate Trekkipedia for trying that. We are now at 70, which is a great number. And we have reached a new high of 129 viewers. You know how we can keep that going? More news. Sami Zayn and Jey Uso's pushes have technically come to an end. At this point in time, they are being kept essentially on the back burner until they are ready to join the Bloodline. Sami Zayn's work with the IC Championship has come to an end, and while he will be in and around some big matches, he will be in and around tag team championship matches. It is not with any serious long-term intent. Jey Uso, as I mentioned a long time ago, the push ended after Damian Priest picked up the win way back at Backlash, which was 4 months ago. Jey Uso since then has been in a holding pattern, waiting for Roman to be returning and waiting for Roman to be available. As originally reported here, the Roman would return at SummerSlam, and Jey Uso was waiting for that moment. Together with Jimmy Uso, Sami Zayn and Jey Uso will be taking part in the Bloodline story. They will be forming their own version of the Bloodline, the original Bloodline you might say, the Bloodline Red you may also say, with Sting and Kevin Nash. So their storylines are waiting for all the pieces to fall into place on SmackDown. The return of Roman Reigns has massively expedited this, but they are not quite there yet. They are just waiting for all the ducks to be in a row. Cal says, did you see Chris Van Vliet in Gable's interview? It's amazing seeing the impact Bray left on everyone. He was a phenomenal performer, but also importantly, an even better person. My brief interactions with him proved that. Trichopedia said, my pleasure, man. Thank you again for the content. Appreciate you. Just to recap our top story, as we're now halfway past the hour. We still have plenty of news to come, but let's just recap initially. Becky Lynch is a free agent and has received offers from almost every major wrestling promotion. AEW have said to have offered a monster package that is considerably more valuable than the offer on the table from the WWE. However, Lynch is said to have told those close to her that should she return to wrestling, the WWE would be the only company she plans to wrestle for. Mercedes Money is said to have spoken glowingly of AEW top to bottom to Becky Lynch, but this is not necessarily with the intent of convincing Lynch to sign with AEW. Money and Lynch are friends, and they are aware of the experiences that each other have had in their respective brands and companies. Basically, they've shared news of their lives. It does not mean a recruitment effort is underway. Sources in the WWE state that creative plans are in place for Lynch at the Royal Rumble, suggesting that they intend to have her available by then. Right now, however, Lynch is a free agent and is not currently signed to any wrestling company. She is a free agent, let there be no mistake on that. Spider-Boss says, apart from his rivalry with the Bloodline, every Cody story is like, I respect you and you respect me, but I'm going to beat you. Yeah, he hasn't had many feuds. Hector says, with Mustafa Ali a free agent again, would there be any chance he would have interest in going back to WWE? I know they'd probably welcome him back, but I'm not sure Mustafa feels the same. You're not wrong. They would definitely welcome him back. He might not agree. They've been trying to convince him to come back while he's been in the TNA contract, for example. Carl says, will we actually see the new Judgment Day have any success? Yeah, they will definitely trade blows, as it were. So Jan says, when will Seth return? When the storylines are ready for him. Roman versus Seth can always happen. I just don't think it's going to happen again anytime soon, especially now that they're both firmly faced for the rest of their careers. One says, Roman's new bloodline versus Solo Sikoa's bloodline. Let's go. Hopefully a war game. Jim says Becky, and I say yes. You say Becky, I say yes. Becky, yes. Becky, yes. Spider-Man says, on the FanFest in NYC, Paul Heyman said we aren't even close of a third inning in the Bloodline storyline. And Entertainment says Blue Bloodline versus Red Bloodline would be cool. Bullet Ryan, I've not heard those rumours personally. Nathan says, I'd like a moment where Sami comes in and wears an honorary Uso t-shirt, but Roman gives him one of a Bloodline. Think of the reaction that would get. I mean, that moment did indeed happen. Carl says, I do wonder when we'll see Heyman return. At the moment, they're just trying to keep him away from Roman so Roman can bet himself in as a face. There are concerns that Paul Heyman, while he will be a face upon his return, he is naturally seedy. Sid, don't watch enough TNA to really speculate on that one. Next piece of news, Jacob Fatu. I reported a while back that Jacob Fatu was about to get involved with Roman Reigns, and he would leave him badly beaten on more than one occasion. Well, Jacob Fatu has left Roman beaten once but this will not be the last time. Much like the Shield had a rock, paper, scissors style effect, where each one beat one and lost to the other, Dean Ambrose beat Seth, Seth beat Roman, Roman beat Dean Ambrose, Jacob Fatu is expected to be positioned early as Roman's kryptonite, his weak point and his overall weakness. Jacob Fatu will be the bodyguard and the enforcer for Solo from here on out, and Roman Reigns will not be getting it his own way for a while longer. Jacob Fatu is expected to get in the way, be a spoiler, and kill extra time between the Roman versus Solo match that the WWE are currently building towards. Spider-Verse says, without even watching Raw, I think Liv and Dom will keep escaping from the Terror Twins. Yeah, pretty much. Jason says they think WWE will consider changing to Roman versus Fatu at WrestleMania. No. Cal says, what are your thoughts on the Wyatt Six so far? I think they've been very entertaining and very intriguing. Razar says, can SmackDown get some help from the Raw creative team or something? The show is so boring, and it's not the talent's fault, in my opinion. The show is largely being built around the bloodline once again. What I would say is that there are lulls in both shows. SmackDown's relying on the top talent pretty heavily, whereas Raw has top talent written all the way through it. So, yeah, there's just a bit more star power on Raw at the moment, and that's all it really is. Just going to double check and see how we're going with the spoiler warning announcement post. I don't want to miss any of those quote tweets if they're coming in. So, a lot of love happening right now, and I appreciate all of you for it. We have now 2,378 views, 42 likes, and an extra reply, which apparently might be offensive. It's not. It's really not. If anything, it's very helpful. Bear with. Do apologise. Right, so, next piece of news is regards Tony Khan and Shane McMahon, and this is going to make real simple, real easy sense. I can confirm at this point in time, because I know the rumour mill's been going nuts, Tony Khan is not looking to sign Shane McMahon in any wrestling capacity. Tony Khan this week spoke out in the attempt to calm rumours about an imminent signing of Shane McMahon. There were concepts that he'd be involved in the creative team, and that's said to be something Shane McMahon was pitching, but in reality this was a brief meeting designed to stir up the headlines, get people intrigued, and Tony Khan was been looking for advice. The arrival of Mercedes money changed a lot for Tony Khan. He's open to a creative team, whereas previously it was all him, and I do think the stories are benefiting from that. He's also open to outside advice and criticism a lot more than he was. Did you want Shane McMahon in AEW, and if so, how? Did you want Shane McMahon in AEW, and if so, how? Wrestler, creative, what do you think? What do you think? In the meantime, 73 likes, 2 more to 75, guys. Keep that rolling. You know what time it is. Ryan says, will we see the Wyatt Six in some capacity on Raw today? I suspect so, yes. Sid says, will The Rock return as a babyface or a heel? He will be returning as a heel. He will be working with Cody. Spider-Man says, fans were chanting Usos when Roman was getting beaten up by the new bloodline. Hope we see a reunion of the OG bloodline soon. Right now, that is very much the plan. They are waiting for Jimmy Uso to be the first one back to really kick it into high gear. So he answers, the Hurt Taker wants one last match. He doesn't. Moxie says, fun fact, Tom, did you know that every member of the bloodline hold most of the gold on SmackDown tag chat? I don't know what you're saying there, Moxley. Moxie, Naira is not a member of the bloodline, for one thing. Zayn says, Rock versus Reigns can never happen, Tom, because it's been delayed a lot. They were trying to make it happen this year. The fans said no. Jermaine says, hey Tom, do you think the Tonga Twins signed of AEW because they were backstage at Collision this Saturday with Mercedes? I think there's interest from WWE. There's also interest from AEW. In general, I think it does become a game of Monopoly, where if WWE completes a set, they can build hotels. AEW are just trying to stop them from building hotels. Trekkipedia says, I'm impressed. Raw being a 3-hour show has been getting better. It was rough for them for a while. Don't say it, because then what's going to happen is SmackDown's going to go 3 hours. Thanks, Wikipedia. Cal says, can't wait to see what the future holds with the Wyatt Six. It's going to be fun to see how Gable changes after the feud is over. Will he change like how people would change once they feuded with The Fiend? Interesting. Lugan says this wouldn't be a proper Tom Colohue live stream without a suppressed sneeze. I've been trying to let it out more recently. It just hurts my brain. I had a lot of nosebleeds as a kid. Too many times when I was 10 years old, I'd have one sneeze and just blood would be everywhere. I learned not to let it happen. Entertainment wanted Shane to return as a manager for the CEO faction. Ooh. Nathan says, well, if Shane is a trusted friend and advisor, I would welcome that. Certainly could help. Bailey says, no interest in Shane. Jermaine says, Shane McMahon will be great in creative. Michael says, wouldn't mind Shane at all on the business and or creative side. Cecil says, hi Tom, thanks for what you're doing and doing it with integrity. Appreciate you, Cecil. That's a very nice thing to say, and I appreciate you for saying it. Moxie says, when do you see Jimmy returning? When he's fit. Jermaine says, I believe Shane McMahon will be great in creative for AEW. Sean says, Matt Hardy said he wants Jeff to retire. Jeff wants to retire in WWE. Jeff is very unlikely to get his wish. Juan says, it looks like Tony Khan learned his lesson. I remember when he signed Ric Flair as a wrestler before he released earlier this year. Shane McMahon as head of creative would work. He would not be head of creative. Tony Khan has retained that role. Sid says, will any of TNA wrestlers be on the WrestleMania in 2025? Very unlikely. Spider-Boss says, I think it's either the Tonga twins or the Renegade twins will join Mercedes stable in AEW. Hello, here we are again. Talking about no evidence, says Carlos. The evidence is my record. And if you'd like to know about my record, guys, I'd like to ask the opinion of people in this chat. Have you seen evidence that I report accurate information? Simple question, because Carlos is asking. He wants to know what the source is. I'm the source. So, to be blunt, simple question for everyone here. Have you seen evidence that what I report is accurate? Trekkipedia is also saying, can we get likes up to 80? 2 more. Hector says, Shane in AEW would most likely be a train wreck. And I totally watched that. And remember, Tom, Shane is the best in the world. Yeah. Jimmy's asking for Wardlow and Stark's contract news. Unfortunately, I don't have that information at this point in time. Kel says, Jeff Hardy's a phenomenal performer, however, too much of a liability for wrestling companies. We have people dropping in. Trekkipedia says, Tom, you are always accurate and fair. Appreciate that. Wants to say, Tom, doesn't TK already have a creative team? Yes, he does. Shane McMahon could potentially be a part of it. Jason Curry says, evidence pretty much weekly. Appreciate that, Jason. Spider-Boss says, when do you think we could see Charlotte back on SmackDown? Soon. Lugan says, Tom has a great track record so far. Appreciate that, Lugan, because you're relatively fresh to the channel. Juan says, Tom is the most reliable, trustable source. Don't ever question him. No, question me. Absolutely question me. Nobody is beyond reproach, and if you've seen WTF Wrestling this week, you'll see why people should not be beyond reproach. Sam says, I'm sorry I only watch WWE, but not been watching nowadays. No need to be sorry, mate. No need to be sorry. This gamer says, yes, for example, he reported Roman getting demolished weeks before it happened. Try our best, mate, try our best. Nathan says, Tom is great, you are accurate, appreciate you, Nathan. Daniel says, yes, finally caught it live, Tom Colohue. Welcome, Daniel. By all means, drop in and ask your questions. Entertainment says, Tom has a great track record. Carlos continues to troll. Because there is a room full of people telling you that you're absolutely wrong. In fact, Carlos, you've just given percentages, so do me a favour. Provide evidence of what you've just said. I want you to provide evidence that 30% of it is right and 70% of it is wrong. I am challenging you to provide evidence, much like you are challenging me. What I did was provide a whole load of people with opinions. Jermaine says Tom is the most accurate person when it comes to Mercedes money news and top wrestling news all around. Appreciate that. The Mercedes money news I have always had a very good record of, and I'm very happy with it. Sid says the Hardys might be the new TNA Tag Team Champions on this week's show. Jamie says he's 100% accurate. I can't go that far. Nobody is infallible, but I appreciate the intention, Jamie. Zayn has been watching old matches of John Cena, Taker, Bryan, many others. Spider-Boss says after how Jeff Hardy left WWE in 2022, I think the only way we could see the Hardys back would be for the Hall of Fame. To be fair, there has been conversations, as I've reported previously, and then 2 weeks later, what did we hear? Oh, Matt and Jeff Hardy are backstage at WWE. Marcel says Tom is the only one I trust with news. Spartan says, really liking what they're doing with the Bloodline. Also can't wait to see what they do with Sami Zayn next with the Bloodline. It was really good the first time the old Bloodline was together. He was absolutely fantastic. Randall says, you get your news like everybody else does. The thing is, you have people with you checking it out before you put it out. It's a fair shout. The live format really does help. It genuinely does. Because I get real-time fact-checking here. Like, I laugh at the trolls, but they hold me to account, much like you guys do. It's very valuable being able to have people right here. Carlos, I have a video that had more than 60,000 views, stating that CM Punk was using wrestling media to get WWE interested. Maybe you should do your research. Valencia says, you seem to have very accurate information to me. Appreciate that, Valencia. Spartan says, it's probably Dave Meltzer's burner. Yeah, I definitely wound up Meltzer over the last week, didn't I? Michael says, Tom's the only person I watch for spoilers, and he's so good, stop being a hater. Jackie B says, no one is totally right, what's your point? Hector says, just imagine if Meltzer had been right, because if you think about it, that number he threw out there was what I'd assume would be Dynamite, Collision, and Rampage. Sid says, Tom is a top bloke and top wrestling source. I like my source just like the next guy. Conrad, you're right, mate. Says, hey, Tom, hope things are well. My friend dropping in to show some love. Appreciate that. I do keep meaning to send a raid over to you on your Friday shows. I know you go live like an hour after I go live on Fridays. That's a regular thing for you. I keep meaning to send a raid over. I need to do that at some point. So you're in my force, mate. I just need to make the show last just over an hour in order to make that happen. And sometimes I just don't have that much news. We have some hi troll, bye troll, which I always enjoy. Everyone say hi to the troll, say bye to the troll. Michael says, Fightful Select is now reporting that Saraya could be a free agent next month. To quote, the AEW deal extends until at least September, where there were options years, but instead something else is likely on the table. Well, that's incredibly vague. Spider-Bot says, I thought Cora Jade was going to be the top star of the NXT women's division after NXT Stand and Deliver. Since then, it all went downhill for Cora. It's not her fault. Kevin says, do you think it's time for Dave Meltzer to retire from wrestling news? Whole video on it, mate. Whole video. I made WTF Wrestling yesterday. It's on Dave Meltzer. You might want to check it out. Hector says, to follow up, WWE got a similar number or thereabout for just one show, which is insane to think. Wasn't true, though. Wasn't true. Kingman says, do you think Pentagon Jr. and Ray Phoenix or Ricky Starks going to WWE? Yes. Spartan says, Tom, how's the house going? See, the walls have been painted. Also, how are you doing? The walls have not been fully painted. I basically painted the bit that I needed. There's a bit right here where I painted over the previous paint, and you can tell once you know it's there. But yeah, it's there. Not just yet, Ishii. We are coming up to it now. Next piece of news is Asuka. So there are 5 pieces of news left. It's a busy show, but we'll get through these ones relatively quickly. I put out a rumour killer earlier today because Ed brought a comment into the Discord stating that EC3, in an interview with Vince Russo, had suggested that Asuka had been released. Asuka has not been released. Asuka has not been released at all. Don't be dumb. Wrestlers go onto the unavailable list, meaning that depending on storylines, they might be face or heel when they return. It takes the pressure off them, but fans need to calm down and stop applying pressure in their place. EC3, in an interview with Vince Russo, got this one going. He was also completely wrong. Asuka has not been released by the WWE. It hasn't happened. Spider-Boss says, do you see Saraya staying in AEW? Probably not. One, the reason I tend to leave the trolls is because by and large we can all just ignore them. We know they're pointless. It also means that people are engaging, and that means the chat rate goes up. Trolls are a benefit, genuinely. The chat rate goes up, which means that the viewership goes up, which means the likes go up, the views go up. It's all good. And the longer a troll stays here, the more they increase the average view duration, which means that the trolls genuinely and in general are a positive on a show like this. They boost the chat rate, they get people talking, it's why we say hi troll, bye troll, and before you know it, they're literally putting money in my pocket. Carlos, by bitching and whining, is making me money. Yeah. Zayn says Sami is a good wrestler. He also fought well with Cena in 2015 for the US title. Also, I think everyone here knows full well that it's a complete joke. Complete joke. Ain't no troll in the world accurate on that one, because clearly they're not paying attention. Sean says Team WWE, Bobby Lashley, Montez, Angelo, Austin Theory and LA Knight versus the women of WWE, Jade, Bianca, Michi and Sonya and Zelina will be on Celebrity Family Feud tomorrow night. It'll be interesting to see how they announce Bobby Lashley. Noom says EC3 won the same since he joined NWA. I think since he left WWE. Very obsessed with his own story. Damon Tar says not surprised, EC3 is a big idiot. Trekkipedia says Asuka is awesome and I have a lot of respect for her. Spider-Boss says I think Saraya will not go back to WWE. Same. Jim says Penta and Phoenix and Motor City Machine Guns WWE bound when? I don't have information on Motor City Machine Guns. I get asked this pretty much every week and unfortunately I still have absolutely nothing. I have no connections there. Kingman says who comes in first? Well, it would depend on people's contracts, which I don't have information on. One says it looks like we won't see Mercedes Money versus Saraya Part 2. The potential free agent status might be why it hasn't happened already. We're getting on to the Dave Meltzer bit now. 2 bits on Dave Meltzer and then we're going to the Wide Six. I know people are waiting. Tony Khan is not happy with Dave Meltzer because Dave Meltzer, in essentially announcing false information about a leaked internal memo, which wasn't a leaked internal memo, it was an estimate or best place, bit of a guess, he potentially jeopardized the negotiations with Warner Brothers Discovery. That is something that Tony Khan cannot afford right now. He simply cannot afford to take those risks. Dave Meltzer is jeopardizing that. But Dave Meltzer seems to be almost intentionally jeopardizing that. Almost intentionally. Because let's be fair, right now, and this is speculation on my part to be clear, right now Dave Meltzer sure has a lot to say about the success or lack thereof of AEW. In fact, I would suggest that almost everything he's reporting about AEW is negative recently. Telling, considering that he started very differently to that. So yeah, there are reasons to watch WWE. If you don't have one, that's cool. There are other wrestling shows. Aaron, this is not a Simpsons fan chat, so I don't know. Carlos, the proper one, Carlos Colon Jr. Will the real Carlos please stand up? Okay, I will. Welcome to the show, mate. Good to see you. We'll get the taste of a previous Carlos out of our mouth. Oh, wow, okay. Anyway, moving on. Spider-Boss says, so far, what do you think about Saraya's AEW run? Nondescript? Forgettable? Trekkipedia says, is anyone happy with Meltzer? I'm not. After my video on Dave Meltzer for yesterday's WTF Wrestling, seriously, do check it out. I think it's some of my better work. I feel like I've seen Dave Meltzer's name all over the X timeline today. People haven't learned. They're just desperate to report whatever he says, and they are continuing to do so. I do feel as though, after something this catastrophically wrong from Dave Meltzer, people should just stop re-reporting everything he says. Yet I've seen him on Wrestling Inc. I've seen him on PWInsider. It frustrates me so much that Dave Meltzer's name keeps coming up, when in reality, if we just stopped mentioning him, we wouldn't even miss him. Hector says, we're down to this one remaining member of the Hurt Business, which kind of sucks. Honestly, I didn't see it being Cedric Alexander. Fair. Kervin says, I don't understand why wrestling fans want to see AEW die. I don't think wrestling fans do. I think WWE diehards who are filled with hate do. Wrestling fans like wrestling shows, like AEW. Kingman says, does Raw change it like a new stage for Netflix, or will it be the same vibe? Different vibe, similar stage. Sid, I can't really comment on Cherry Coke. I can't. It's all about what I can afford, and I can afford orange juice. TNA would be interested in Saraya, sure. Spider-Boss says Saraya's AEW run has 2 highlights, her debut and a women's title win at All In 2023, which, to be fair, again, forgettable and was forgotten very quickly. We have a couple of pieces of news left. We're going to talk Wyatt 6 and we're going to talk Pat McAfee. We have 123 people watching right now. 86 likes. 4 more gets us to 90. Right now we also have 476 views. This close to 500. There are plenty of people who watch these shows after the fact, and I appreciate all of you for watching it in podcast format. But a very good showing to start with would really help to ensure that happens and continues as well. So, the more views, the better. Please do hit like if you haven't already. A little tidbit on where we are of the Wired 6 story. The Wired 6 are still considered to be in the introductory phase, with no plans in place to rush them. The 6 are not fully synced up yet with active storylines, meaning that any teases happening at the moment are being led by Bo Dallas and his long-term goals, rather than Triple H and the creative team. The creative team right now have only actually written the story with Chad Gable for the Wired 6 and are currently pitching other storylines, but it's Bo Dallas who's the one making the hints, making the clues. The creative team have not, as of yet, planned anything other than the work with Chad Gable. Some of these teases can and will come to nothing. But at this point in time, the groundwork that Bo Dallas is laying is being tracked very carefully by the creative team. They want to follow Bo Dallas's lead, but they need to do it in a way that doesn't impact current ongoing storylines. This was one of the problems with the Bray Wyatt stories that the WWE were trying to tell. They essentially would force wrestlers into the Bray Wyatt universe, and it wouldn't work for them. It did mean that a lot of people didn't necessarily want to work in that format by the end of it, but, pardon me, under Bo Dallas and a little bit of coaching by Rob Fee, the WWE are excited to see where this one goes. Spider-Boss says EC3 couldn't control his narrative. I don't take serious anything EC3 says. Jermaine says, oh, no, sorry, there's a bit more before we get there. Here we are. Jackie Peters says, Meltzer kind of apologised to Alpha's family but didn't come out and say it. Just sad he can't just admit he was wrong. I agree. King Alice says, Tom, are they building towards Roman getting the Ula Fala back? Yes, they are. Dax says, hey Tom, is there any fear that Jacob Fatu's push being limited due to his past? None whatsoever. No fears of that at all. His push will be limited, but only in so much as they are waiting for everything to fall into place for him. It was me, says Meltzer being an unbiased journalist with real news is long gone, seems bitter and just wants to be the first to report. Aaron says, do SmackDown... I've read that one. Valencia says, any major plans going forward for the Street Profits after Bobby Lashley leaving? I know they're number one contenders just now, but anything long-term planned? Nothing long-term, really. They are being assured that there are plans for them now that Bobby Lashley is gone, because there are concerns. But Triple H is trying to ensure them that it's all good. Jermaine says, hey Tom, we all know AEW is getting a new TV deal. What type of TV deal do you think they would get? It depends where from, and we don't know that. Valencia says, I agree, Ari Dave Meltzer. Stopped following months ago and pretty much just ignore everything he says. I've had it, well, he blocked me and then I blocked him for about 5 years ago. Haven't missed him. You know everything he says anyway, because everywhere reports it. Wikipedia says, and thank you for this, to Carlos the Troll, if you hate Tom, why are you here? You're just proving his point. He's not asking for likes, we're all helping the video get likes, so try and be positive instead of being a troll. Daniela says, any news on LWO being back on TV? Not at this point, no real plans for them to my knowledge. Kervin says, if Bo Dallas has created... Not sure what you're saying there, Kervin. Good night, Marcel. Good to see you. Hope you enjoy your sleep. Danielle says, I don't know why, but I think Profits win on Friday, so the Bloodline War has no titles involved, even though titles won't be on the line. Dax said, do you know if Uncle Howdy Bo Dallas will wrestle Chad at Bash in Berlin? I don't. Sayan says, what a match he had with Taker, Cena, many others. Bray Wyatt also became WWE champion a number of times, yes. Spider-Boss says, what's next for the tag team titles now that the new Bloodline hold the titles to be celebrated by the Bloodline? Wrestling, basically. It was me said, are they going to pair up Charlotte and Andrade? No, not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge, but, you know, stranger things have happened. Pat McAfee today announced that he's taking time off from the WWE. Triple H is said to be disappointed not to get more matches out of McAfee, but Pat is intending to act in a similar manner to Logan Paul now as an outside affiliate advertising the company to non-wrestling fans but other sports fans who might be willing to give it a go. You'll remember me mentioning that Pat McAfee was working to get the Wyatt Six over independently without WWE direction, using his own platforms. That is something Pat McAfee has pledged to continue doing. McAfee is likely to return around WrestleMania time for an appearance, will be on commentary again sometime in the future, but not anytime soon. Sean said, do you see Randy Gunter as the main event of Bash at Berlin? Yes, I do. Jason says, with a recent increase in the talent pool for WWE, do you see them adding another show on Netflix once Raw changes over? No, I see them releasing quite a few people once their contracts expire. No Dragon Lee news, unfortunately, Jim. Nobody really has news on that one, I'll say that. Nobody. So at this point, I'm going to start the wrap up. We have been live for just over an hour. We peaked at a tremendous 129 viewers. We've had 92 likes, 523 views so far, and only the one troll. So I call that a job well done. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.